And, as you're unpacking that, I have to think of people in my own life who are longing for these similar things in their lives as well. Practical benefits, transcendence, and the love of Father, essentially. And I know of different spaces that they seemingly find those. So I think of friends that do yoga. They go to their yoga studio, right? And there are practical benefits. There's health benefits. There's also this idea of transcendence. And, there's a spiritual realm to it. I even think in that kind of sphere, there's more of like a new age spirituality. God is everywhere. He's in everything. And in the rocks and the crystals and things like that. Yes. I even think of another friend who's Buddhist, and he seems to live a pretty meaningful, respectful, joy-filled, purpose-filled life, and that certainly is not following the same walk as Jesus. Or a lot of people that I shepherd and walk with, young adults or even millennials, there's this idea of like a spiritual buffet. Like, I'm just going to pick this and that, and I like this part of this religion or worldview or whatever it is, and I'm just going to build my own. Is there a case to be made that various either religions, worldviews, or things can answer these longings you mentioned before?
Yeah, I would not want to say that it's a zero-sum game, that it's absolutely false or absolutely true. I think because if we believe that this is God's world, then there's hints of God everywhere, and there's little fragments or breadcrumbs, if you will, all throughout the world. C.S. Lewis once used the metaphor of other mythologies or worldviews as seeing a picture a little bit out of focus. And then when you keep clicking the lens, it comes into focus in Jesus Christ. The book of Hebrews actually says this in Hebrews 1. It says, God spoke in various times in various ways, but in these last days, he has spoken to us through his Son. That's the picture in focus. But I think there's... Can we unpack that the buffet mentality for a moment? I think there's something about that mindset that sounds really humble, doesn't it? They're like, oh, it's just, I don't want to choose one thing. There's a little bit, let's just take a little bit from this dish and a little bit from this dish. One of the problems with that is it's not how truth works. So even that claim is a truth claim that says, oh, I can find little bits in everything, but someone else says, well, that's not how it works. So there's an old story, I think it's in the Hindu scriptures, of a few blind men trying to describe what an elephant is like. And the first blind man grabs the tail and he goes, oh, an elephant is like a snake, And the other one grabs his leg and he goes, oh, an elephant is like a tree. And the other one grabs what am I saying here? The trunk, thank you. And he goes, oh, an elephant is like a worm or whatever. And they've got different, and so the moral of the story is, they're all partly right, but the elephant is beyond imagination. The trouble with that story is that there is a narrator who sees what the blind men do not see. And the narrator is making a truth claim that there is an elephant. So at some level of the conversation, we're going to have competing truth claims. Which one is claiming, are we claiming partial truth? Are we claiming total truth? Where are we at? The other problem with this is it sounds respectful, but actually it's pretty arrogant. Now, I grew up in Malaysia, a multi-religious country. Christians were 10 or 11% of the population. Hindus about 25%, Buddhists about 25%, Muslims, the rest of it, 40%. And the trick with us in America, in the West, is we take these ancient religions and we take little bits and pieces of it, and we think it's okay, but actually we're actually disrespecting these ancient religions. And so, we know now that the age of empires was wrong because we shouldn't colonize other countries and we shouldn't rip people from one country and ship them to another country as slaves, but we're doing the same thing with religious ideas. And so we rip a bit of Buddhism and we mix it with a bit of materialism and we mix it with a bit of Sabbath from Judaism and forgiveness from Christianity, and we go, this is my thing. Well, actually, you've just made everything you hate about empires is now true of you. You've become an empire of one, where you're in charge of what's true. So there's a trick there. The other thing, we have to look seriously at these other worldviews or philosophies because they actually, a number of them have a different lens of ethics. So you go, well, I like this view of women. You go, well, that's not consistent with, say, the ethic of how women are viewed in Islam. Or you go, well, I like this about, and there's competing ethics that come with competing worldviews, and we can unpack that a little bit more, but that's a bit for now.